Let's talk a little Florida Gator recruiting as the Gators, they're close to landing their first 5-star in this 2026 class. Now, we're going to talk about this, but also last night, the Gators landed a top 100 recruit. Not a 5-star, but close. It was UF's 19th commitment, also their highest rated commitment to date. On Tuesday, Davian Gross, he committed to the Gators. We're going to go behind the scenes of that one with Blake Alderman of Gators Online. But first, Gator fans, do me a favor. Hit subscribe to the Rivals Recruits channel. If you watch even one of our videos this summer, you'll want to be locked in for the season. Go ahead and hit subscribe. All right, let's bring in Blake Alderman of Gators Online. So UF goes into the state of Texas. They pull out the number 6 ranked receiver in America, Davian Gross. But there was rumors. I mean, literally, Steve Wiltfong was reporting in the hours leading up to this one that Oklahoma and UF were going back and forth. How did it go down in those last final moments?
Well, I think that for most of, since maybe the spring, let's say, that I think Oklahoma was considered the odds-on favorite.
Yeah.
Distance from home was always a factor, and yes, Baylor's closer. Oklahoma wasn't that much farther. Florida was the clear outlier as far as distance. So that seemed to favor Oklahoma. He's got former players have gone to Oklahoma. He's got some ties there to the program over at Frisco Lone Star High School. So there were a lot of ties there. He really liked the staff, obviously had more visits. I mean, Florida got one visit. It was just the official visit that he took there in June. So I think that Florida, having an offensive head coach, having different offensive minds like Billy Gonzalez, who's coached a lot of really great players, I think that had an impact on Gross. I think it was something a little different. He really liked the team camaraderie together. So I think that for most of the summer, I think that if you had to go with the school that maybe Gross liked the most, it was Florida. But again, we enter this distance from home being a hang-up. It was a factor. It was just something that was always working against Florida. Those late conversations, speaking with Gross, just kind of dotting all the I's and all the T's, really talking those NIL talks, how his family could see him easily in Gainesville and how those means of transportation and just all the parts that are in those NIL conversations. I think those checked off a lot of boxes. And again, I think that Gross liked Florida, the fit. He's sort of that Percy Harvin type player. And Billy Gonzalez, Florida's wide receivers coach, coached Percy Harvin back when he was under Urban Meyer at Florida. So I think all those things were made up in those late conversations, talking NIL, talking distance from home, and how all those things can sort of work themselves out. I think that's what put Florida over the finish line.
Yeah, huge commitment. As I said, their highest ranked commitment to date, 19 total. So UF has landed some explosive playmakers in this 26 class. Is this the DJ Lagway effect?
I think so. I mean, you've seen big-time quarterbacks. They're like magnets for these types of playmakers. And I think mainly for Gross, I mean, this is a guy that is from the state of Texas. DJ Lagway's from Texas. There's those ties there. DJ has that sort of effect on really anybody. Any big-time quarterback's going to have that effect. But I think it hits a little bit more for a guy like Gross, who's there in the state of Texas, and seeing DJ go from Texas to Florida, have success early in his career, and is looking for an even bigger jump in year 2.
All right. Speaking of the DJ Lagway effect, predictions started rolling in yesterday for the number 1 quarterback, the number 1 player in the 2027 class, Elijah Haven. He's out of Louisiana. I mean, guys are just lining up to become the next DJ Lagway. Of course, I don't mean the next DJ. They're going to have their own path. But is Elijah Haven kind of also going along with the DJ Lagway effect?
I think so. And I think it's maybe a different sort of effect that we're seeing, because when the 2027 class, signs in December, DJ will have that decision where that's after year 3. He'll have the option to go to the NFL. Whether that happens or not, he looks like a 3-year player whenever he was coming out of high school, but you never know how things work out. That would open the door for DJ to be departing. Open wings are there for a guy like Elijah Haven, who on his last visit, he visited for Florida's recruiting cookout in late June, had his family with him there. DJ Lagway's family were also in town as well. So not only did Haven get to speak with DJ to sort of see, hey, man, this is, what did you do as a freshman to be prepared? Mm-hmm. What did you do in high school to be prepared for college? Asking all those sorts of questions. But Haven's family were able to sit and talk with DJ's family. Just talk about what did Florida do for them? What is Florida doing for DJ? Development, off the field stuff, what have you. What are those things that Florida's doing? And I think that really resonated. Florida has a program called Gator Made where, they'll take kids out to, Nike headquarters and learn about those types of things, sort of your future after football, whether that's after college or after the pros, whatever. They go on all these trips. I think like Milan was last year. I think they've gone to like Africa, China, like all these different places. Italy, I think, was actually this last summer. So all those types of things can be good for your brand. If you're a quarterback, your brand is extremely important. But also having that chance to come in and sort of take the baton from DJ Lagway and potentially have that same type of future as him, as an underclassman guy getting on the field, making an impact at Florida. I just think that there is the DJ Lagway effect there, but it's more of just kind of being the guy in the waiting wings after DJ heads to the NFL. I think that's sort of the pitch. And that's why Florida is so aggressive in recruiting Elijah Haven, because they know that you saw last year what a big time quarterback can do as a freshman. Yeah. Let's keep that going. Let's not make sure that we never have that problem again. And I think that's where you're seeing Florida so aggressive with Elijah Haven.
Yeah, and big time quarterbacks see that opportunity right now in Gainesville, and that's why they're lining up for it right now. Elijah Haven trending to Florida. All right. Yesterday on this channel, big development. Steve Wiltfong on his show yesterday said that Ohio State is no longer the favorite for rivals number one safety Brilan Wulmarmac out of Mississippi. I mean, if you watch this channel, Steve's been saying Ohio State for like the last 8 months is where the intel was leaning. But here we are, 10 days away. Yeah, he's going to be on the 22nd or 21st. Brilan Wulmarmac, what have the Gators done to position themselves in this race? It seems like it's them and Auburn.
It does. I think I'd probably lean Auburn's way. There's just a little bit more buzz in their corner. Well, his older sister transferred from Ole Miss to Auburn to play softball. So you've got the family ties there. I think that Auburn, from what I've heard, is being very aggressive on the NIL front. You're going to have to be for a 5-star safety, number one safety, if you need a guy. And I think for even in Auburn's case, they need sort of that splash. I think their class last check was like ranked in the 60s or somewhere around there. A guy like Wulmarmac is going to make that big splash. But with Florida, I'd agree. I think it is a Florida-Auburn battle. I'd give the Tigers the edge, but I think Florida's in that secure number 2 spot with Ohio State drooping there. Vinny Cincinnati, I think that's really where this starts with Florida. Was recruiting Wulmarmac when he was at Washington, and I think it was Wulmarmac visited for like a junior day or something earlier this year in spring, something like that. And he said that Washington was actually going to make his list of top schools. And that was primarily because of Vinny Cincinnati. They have a really good relationship. Well, that carried over when he went to Florida. They obviously continue to stay in touch. Florida has identified this guy as a priority. You have some upperclassmen on the roster this year, sort of in that same boat of, will they stay another year? Will they go pro? Well, if they do, Florida's got they've got some talent. You signed Lagonza Hayward last cycle. You signed Hilton Stubbs last cycle. So you've got some DBs there, but I think you obviously need to continue to keep that talent going. And I think that's what Wulmarmac brings. He could even play some star in the defense. So that's a guy that could be a plug-and-play guy that's going to get you on the field. So I think that's an interesting thing where Florida's so aggressive in their pursuit. And like I said, Vinny Cincinnati. But I think that if Florida's, at least where we're at now, like you said, 10 days or so, I'd give Auburn the edge. I think Florida's going to have to make that late push, whether that's just showing him something about Florida that they can offer, whether that's NIL on the field with Gator Made, what have you. I think Florida's going to have another one of those types of runs like they did with Gross, to where they make that late push, cross the finish line late, because right now it seems like that's trending Auburn.
All right. Now, let's say Gators have a big season. Billy Napier and the boys, they get it done on the field. With 19 commitments right now, what would the Gators like to add if they could between now and signing day?
I think another linebacker. We didn't mention another target for Florida, 4-star linebacker DQ Forkpa. He was going to commit July 12th. He decided not to. Florida's odds-on favorite probably still. They were in July. So that's one that's out there. 4-star linebacker Isaiah Williams, who is committed to Ole Miss. I think the story has been told millions of times how this guy is on his 5th commitment so far of his recruitment. He's looking around still, even after flipping to Ole Miss. He visited Florida and Georgia for official visits, and expectation is that guy's going to take some more visits in the fall. And guy that's made 5 commitments, not really a shocker that guy's going to continue to take a look around. So Florida's in there. Linebacker is one of those areas that I think Florida needs to address. Those are the top 2 guys right now. Yeah. I think defensive line is probably the biggest need to fill. They've got 4-star Kendall Gerbil. Was a big win for Florida where they made up some late ground over Texas. when you look at the targets list right now, as far as uncommitted guys, there's three-star defensive tackle T. Ron Richardson, who's going to commit on August 26th, has not visited Florida yet, does plan to still take an official visit sometime in the season, which would have to come after his decision. That's always one of those wait and see things. Is this guy going to make a decision, then decide, I'm good, I don't want to take any visits? But past him being the uncommitted guy, Florida's got a lot of flip guys. They would have to flip guy like, four-star Vodney Cleveland from Texas, four-star Valdon Sohn from Georgia. I would easily see them kick the tires on a guy like five-star James Johnson, who's committed to Texas down in South Florida. But these are guys that you're going to have to flip from Georgia and Texas. Texas is number one on the AP poll that just come out. They obviously play a very well in the NIL game. Georgia's another one of those teams that's been a consistent contender. It's not going to be easy to flip those guys. It's not easy to flip guys in general. So defensive tackle is probably the biggest need that I think Florida needs to fill. When you look at the board, there's just not a lot of options. So I think linebacker, again, is one, but there's a little bit more options there. But I'd say that those are probably the two biggest needs to address. But you never know if like you said, if Florida goes on some kind of heater this season, it could open up the door for guys that at other positions that maybe Florida had no shot at, or they become having a shot at because they're on a hot streak on the field. So that's remains to see. But I think linebacker and defensive tackle are probably the areas that Florida really needs to address before December.
All right. Great intel here from Blake Alderman. You can find him and his stash over on Gators Online. Blake, thanks for stopping by the Inside Scoop today.
Thanks for having me.